Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true.
Jamaica news in review. Man killed after attacking members of a family with machete. A Westmoreland man was killed after he reportedly attacked several members of a family with a machete on Friday. The incident occurred on Warren Street at Morgan's Bridge in the parish. Police have identified the dead man as 59-year-old Devon Wright, a resident of the rural district. Reports are that around 5:10 p.m., Wright and family members had a dispute. Police said during the dispute, Wright attacked members of the family with a machete. The family members threw stones towards Wright, the police said, and one reportedly hit him on the head. Police said further that no deceased fell to the ground and was assisted to hospital where he was pronounced dead on arrival. The machete was retrieved from the scene by the police. The police have not divulged the reason for the dispute and have not indicated whether any of the family members were taken into custody. Man attempts to smuggle contraband into Greater Portmore Police Station. One man is now in custody at the Greater Portmore Police Station lockup after he attempted to smuggle contraband into the facility. Reports are that a team of police officers was carrying out regular patrol of the compound around 2 o'clock Saturday morning when they accosted a man dressed in full black shirt and pants, wearing a mask and red sneakers. He was caught after jumping the fence to the back of the facility with a bag containing 7 cell phones, 5 phone charger, several boxes of cigarette and vegetable material resembling ganja and tobacco, along with lighters, 2 packs of razor blade, 1 piece of electrical cord, and 2 cell phones earpiece. He is said to be a 30-year-old man of Old Harbour, St. Catherine. He is expected to be charged later. This arrest comes a few days after the police carried out a major search operation at the facility and seized 1 ratchet knife, 1 hacksaw blade, approximately 3 pounds of vegetable matter resembling ganja, 9 chargers, 7 earpieces, 19 cell phones, 1 razor blade, cigarette lighters, and power banks. The police have since reviewed the security arrangement at the facility and have introduced some new measures. The police are again warning citizens to avoid being used by criminals to smuggle contraband into lockups. This is a dangerous practice that undermines our effort at maintaining peace in some of our most troubled communities, as gangsters who are in lockups try desperately to direct and give orders against their enemies. Stop it, declared Christopher Phillips, the Senior Superintendent of Police in charge of St. Catherine South Police Division. Chief Justice calls on authorities to address use of Supreme Court building for purposes other than litigation. Chief Justice has called on the relevant authorities to quickly address a problem involving persons who use the Supreme Court building for purposes other than litigation. Speaking at a forum, Chief Justice outlined that one of the responsibilities of the Justice Ministry is to provide the infrastructure and other facilities for staff and persons who have matters in court. He said the persons who use the Supreme Court at night are a cause for concern to staff. Chief Justice also called for improvements in the general building design for courthouses.
If you go down to the Supreme Court, you will see a number of our citizens who make excellent use of the court building, but not for the purposes of litigation. They are usually gathered along the Barry Street side of the court, and they gather there late in the evenings from about 6-7 o'clock, and they enjoy the surroundings right up until the following morning. So that's not what we really have in mind when we talk about using the court and the infrastructure. So something will have to be arrived at in dealing with those of our citizens who are there, because they pose a challenge to attorneys and to court staff when they want to come in to the court building. Really talking about providing adequate infrastructure to house all the occupational groups. In the past, our courtroom designs were largely based upon the idea that the court is just for the staff and for the judge. But the truth is, a court is also a workspace for attorneys, police officers, probation officers, and a lot of other persons spend significant hours of the day within the court. A provision will have to be made for that. So we're talking about the whole rethinking and redesigning of our court buildings. We should have a situation where defendants, witnesses, lawyers are all using the same space, as happens in the Supreme Court when persons are being brought from the cells up into the courtroom, rubbing shoulders with the lawyers, witnesses, jurors. So we have to change all of that. That is why we need modern court buildings to deal with all of those types of issues.
Nude body found with gunshot wounds in Clarendon. The nude body of a man was found at Captureland, an area of Newtown in his Clarendon on Saturday morning. He has been identified as 59-year-old Roy Freeman Goldburn, otherwise called Blacks, a resident from the community. Police believe Freeman was killed between 8:30 on Friday evening and 10:30 on Saturday morning. It was reported that residents heard loud explosions about 8:30 last night. Police said around 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, a miner went to get water from a nearby community standpipe when the body was discovered. The police were summoned, and the body found in the nude, lying face down, near a standpipe with what appeared to be gunshot wounds to the upper section. The body was positively identified and later removed to the morgue. Teen boy found dead in St. Anne, father arrested. A St. Anne father has been taken into custody as the police probe the death of his son. The 14-year-old was found dead at the gate of their house in Inverness district. He has been identified as Cashway Nevers. It is reported that the teen and his father were at a wake in the community when they were later seen leaving the event. Residents subsequently stumbled upon the boy's body at his gate and the police were summoned. The residents went in search of his father, who was located and handed over to the police. The 59-year-old mechanic was taken into custody. Suspect held following fatal stabbing of Manchester nurse. Police are reporting that a 29-year-old suspect was taken into custody following Friday night stabbing death of his spouse in Newport, Manchester. The police had earlier launched a manhunt in the search of the suspect, who they identified as Kevin Leslie, otherwise called Nice, a taxi operator of Days Grove, Newport, and Burdick Street, Cross Keys in Manchester. Leslie is accused of fatally stabbing his common-law wife, Sade Brown, 28, a surgical assistant at their home in Daly's Grove, Newport. A senior police source said the two had a dispute about 8:30 p.m. when Brown was fatally stabbed. A report from the information arm of the Jamaica Constabulary Force said Brown, her 11-year-old son, another child, and her common-law husband were at home when the argument developed between the couple. The police report said that the man then proceeded to use several knives to stab Brown repeatedly. She was pronounced dead at hospital. The suspect fled the scene and was on Saturday afternoon held by the police. Teachers accept wage offer. After 4 days of protest last week, the island teachers on Sunday voted to accept the government's wage offer, reporters have learned. This will ensure normality returns to the classroom on Monday. Reports reaching reporters are that 803 delegates of the 25,000-strong Jamaica Teachers Association JTA voted, with 629 voting to accept the offer and 147 voting to reject it. Last week, teachers staged 4 days of protest in the form of sit-out, sit-ins, and go-slow to press their demand for what they said was a livable wage. Students were turned back when they turned up at school. The militant teachers are only returning to the classroom for regular duties on Friday after they were warned by the Minister of Education that their pay could be docked. Teachers represented the largest group of some 40,000 public sector employees who have refused to sign the new wage offer under the Government Public Sector Compensation Review Program, with the membership of the Jamaica Medical Doctors Association also voting to accept the offer on Sunday. The police are now the largest group of roughly 113,000 public servants yet to sign. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark has repeatedly warned the back salaries not paid during the current financial year, this ends on March 31, will not be accommodated in the upcoming budget and will not be paid for several budget cycles. That position has been dismissed by the parliamentary opposition as nothing more than an attempt to intimidate and bully workers into signing, as it said provisions can be made to ensure the payments are made as soon as negotiations are concluded. Medical Doctors Association accept wage offer from government. The Jamaica Medical Doctors Association JMDA on Sunday voted to accept the government's wage offer. President of the JMDA, Dr. Mindy Fitzheadley, said 95% of those who voted on Sunday during a special meeting of the JMDA elected to accept the offer. The JMDA met with its members this evening, and the outcome of the vote is that 95% of persons voted to accept the new compensation package from the Ministry of Finance, Fitzheadley stated. Minister of Finance and the Public Service Dr. Nigel Clark, during a 4-hour-long opening presentation in the 2023-2024 budget debate inside Garden House, announced that $4.3 billion has been tacked onto the budget for this fiscal year to settle wages agreements with some of the major public sector groups which ends on March 31. They said the wage offer will protect and allow future generation of doctors to properly be hired in post. It is important to note that with this offer, we get all of our doctors currently employed in a contract into a post, and we also protect the future generation of doctors to come by, ensuring that they all have to be hired into a post, she added. On Friday, March 10, Minister of Finance and Public Service sent a new wage offer to members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force after the leadership of group representing the cops denied that they had rejected a proposal pay package from the government. The police are presently reviewing the latest offer from the government and, as of now, represented the largest group of public sector employees yet to sign, as the teachers also voted to accept the offer on Sunday. No laughing matter. JCF urges victims of halfway tree robbery pranks to make formal report. The Jamaica Constabulary Force (JCF) is urging victims who have been pranked by a group of young men who record videos faking robberies of individuals at ATMs and outside of banks in Halfway Tree, St. Andrew, to make a formal report. Several videos have been making the rounds on social media showing two men accosting persons outside the financial institution and pretending to rob them for laughs. Against this background, the JCF said the pranks are not only irresponsible and insensitive, but it is aware of the psychological, social, civil, and criminal implications of such acts. As such, the JCF is urging victims to make a formal statement. We are urging anyone who may have been a victim of these pranksters, whether captured in their viral videos or not, to come forward and make a formal report to the Halfway Tree Police. Detectives from St. Andrew Central have already begun investigation into these incidents, JCF said. Statements from potential complainants are essential for us to conduct a thorough probe into these incidents. We assure you that your safety and security will be of the utmost priority in any engagement with the police, and we encourage you not to be afraid to speak up, the JCF added. The JCF is also urging persons who may be considering engaging in these types of pranks to refrain from doing so. Dispute between cousins leaves 2-year-old dead in Trelawney. A dispute between two cousins in Machete, Trelawney on Sunday night left a 2-year-old boy dead. The deceased has been identified as Adrian Jerome Campbell of the same community. Police report that around 8:12 p.m., young Adrian was seated in the back of a motor vehicle with his stepfather when a man points upon them and fired several shots at the vehicle. Adrian was shot in the process, however, his stepfather was unharmed. Adrian was pronounced dead at hospital. Head of the Trelawney Police Superintendent Winston Milton said the incident allegedly followed an argument between the child's stepfather and the attacker. He said the inability to resolve conflicts amicably in the parish continues. He said the attacker is now in custody.
Our investigation has revealed that two cousins were involved in a dispute. During the dispute, one left, returned with a firearm, and fired at the other, who was sitting in his Honda motor car. That car missed the intended target and hit the child, Jerome Campbell, 2 years old, who was sitting in the rear seat of the vehicle. And he was rushed to the Falmouth General, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. This is highlighting a major issue which we are having in the parish of Trelawney, where our citizens are not able to resolve dispute amicably, but they are resorting to violence. And in more recent times, we are seeing firearms being brought in to resolve these disputes. So firearms are involved in the violent act, which usually follow a dispute involving community members, even family members, as in this particular case.
Children's rights advocate expressed concern about the murder of 2 children at the weekend. Founder of Hear the Children's Cry, Betty Ann Blade, has expressed concern about the murder of 2 children at the weekend. Dead are 14-year-old Cashwin Nevers of Inverness, Alexandra in St. Anne, and 2-year-old Adrian Campbell of Mackhill, Clarkston in Trelawney. In the latest incident, Adrian was shot around 8:12 last evening. Reports are that he was seated in the back of a motor vehicle with his stepfather when a man pounced upon them and fired several shots, hitting the child. In condemning the murder, Mrs. Blade said such brutal acts against children must end. She further stated that children should not become collateral damage. She is calling on all stakeholders, including parents and the government, to play their part in protecting children.
We are just sick and tired of being fed a steady diet of child abuse, child murders, child neglect. And we are asking the question, how are we going to fix this? How are we going to fix it? We must fix it. And the truth is, that parents are the first line of defense for the protection of their children. So we have to put the emphasis on parental responsibility, parental accountability, that children must be better supervised. The case of the 2-year-old is of grave concern. Now, people in our country for years have been talking about children being collateral damage. In other words, they're not the direct targets of the murders, shootings, and so on, but they die. They die from shootings, and some of it is not directed at them. And people have been caught to asking, have Jamaican children become collateral damage? And that's a question we have to ask. Are we satisfied that our children are being slaughtered this way? Children are supposed to be safe in their homes and in their communities, in their schools. We are not seeing this. This is now becoming the new normal in Jamaica. How can this become a new normal for a country? That in a country as small as we are, with a relatively small population of children, how is this becoming the new normal? That every day we hear of these kinds of incidents. So I'm calling on parents, first of all, certainly the government, to do more, and the rest of us as citizens of this country to be the eyes and ears and voices of our children. Everybody should be an advocate, and all of us should be saying, enough. Really, this is enough. We can't take this anymore. Enough is enough.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell